So I want to talk about something that's been bothering me for a while. I've seen a couple people talk about this, but really not that many. And I haven't seen it land the way it should. And it's information that should be intuitive and obvious. Like, I feel like once I start talking about this, you're going to be like, dude, like, obviously, right? But no one's changing themselves. No one's adjusting how they date and interact with other people. No one's changing their opinions on anything. They're not changing their standards when it comes to dating. And that's a huge red flag. And I think it's going to be even more obvious as time goes on that this is an issue. I mean, it's inevitable because birth rates are falling, marriages are falling, right? Loneliness is skyrocketing. So we're inevitably going to have to face the truth, which we already know, but no one's doing anything about it. And it's simple. It's essentially this, right? What we may call romance and love is not. It's not romance. It's not love, you know? It's lust and infatuation. And that's it, you know? And that's the key issue that we're suffering from right now is I don't think most people, maybe it's, you know, hypergamy is real. I'll just say that, okay? Hypergamy is real. So most people, women, most people are not dating someone based on, let's say, good long-term qualities, right? This has been talked about at length. You know, like that's alpha, beta stuff, whatever, right? You've got the guy who's got all the benefits of, you know, dating someone in the long term. Or let's say he makes a lot of money, stable income. He's really nice. He'll be faithful. He won't cheat on you, whatever. Good long-term relationship. But he's just not attractive. He's not 6 foot tall. He doesn't make millions of dollars. He's not handsome. He doesn't have a six-pack, you know. And so why would you date or marry that person? You know, why? When you can have the other, right? The guy who's actually trying. But that's the trick. You can't actually have that. Most women can't, because that kind of guy who's actually attractive to women he's like barely in the population at all. Like, you know, 10%, right? Probably less, to be honest. And so you have that issue where the same with men, where although it's less so, where men are also just pursuing that which is shallow, you know. Although I think it's like I said, the reason why that's less of an issue for men is because the average man is attracted to the average woman. But the average woman is not attracted to the average man. Essentially, women are not attracted to their looks match. The person that they're actually on the same level of physical attractiveness with, right? And that's the fundamental issue, right? Is that women say they want to fall in love and they want to have a relationship and they want long-term stability, etc., right? But then they're choosing those things that have nothing to do with actual love and actual romance. They're choosing lust and infatuation over love and stability, right? Simply because there's no sexual desire towards the guys who don't fit their physical standards. And that's why, like, the looks maxing people have a point. You know, like, people give them such a hard time. I think that's quite unfair when you see how much women actually care about looks. Like, tons of other YouTubers have talked about this as well, that like women do care about looks, and they probably care about looks more so than men. I mean, just the mere fact that men are willing to date and get into a relationship with someone who's as attractive as them, right? If not, because everyone wants to date someone who's more attractive, like the best that they can get, right? But being realistic and what we actually see in real life, the behaviors of men in real life, they're willing to date someone who's at least as attractive as them, if maybe not less attractive. We're seeing that more and more, you know? And so if that's the case, we could say like people are on average are shallow, but it seems to be that men are less shallow than women nowadays, you know? But you can't blame the women, you know? I don't think they're hypergamous maliciously. You know, sure, we can be self-aware of our issues, of our inclinations that are natural to us, and try to resist them if following our impulses would be bad. You know, we're responsible for resisting them. But I think we should have some empathy towards women with their hypergamy, because they didn't choose to have it, you know? They're not maybe things would be different, if hypergamy didn't exist, right? But it does. And there's reasons for it, evolutionary reasons, as we know, and tons of others. But anyways, this is the point, right? Is that all relationships nowadays are transactional. They're just transactional. And women are looking for a transaction, and that's why they don't date guys who are not in the top 10 to 20%, right? They're looking to get something out of it. And that is not romantic. That's just business. So anyone who's in a relationship where that was the foundation of their relationship, was what they get out of the other person, yeah, I wouldn't say you have a romantic relationship. I would say you have a business transaction. The more you're willing to date someone else, right, without getting anything in return, and this is the same for all other relationships, the more it's based on love. Now, I'm not saying you should date someone who's not suitable for a relationship, right? There is such thing, obviously, as honesty, accountability, faithfulness, loyalty, right? Stuff like that. Obviously, you look for that, right? That's less shallow, though. If you're looking for that, that's less shallow. If that's the priority over looks, it's like, oh, well, looks would be nice and other shallow things would be nice if I could, but really this is what I need, is the deep stuff, right? I would say you're far closer to actual love and a relationship at that point, especially the moment that your differences start to become apparent and you have to start compromising and sacrificing for the other person, and you build your compatibility with each other as opposed to just start out that way, right? That's real love. That is real love. Not this, they have to be perfect right away. They have to have all the shallow qualities that I'm looking for, stuff like that. That's not love, And that is exactly what we're emphasizing. That's exactly what everyone's doing, And as I said, women more so than men. Okay, I'll say for legal reasons, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't think so. I think it's pretty obvious, right, that women are becoming more shallow than men, which is a crazy thing to think about, because I think men have always been the more shallow. Maybe this is just some kind of the way I was raised or inner bias inside of me to think this way. But I used to believe that men were the more shallow, the less moral sex. I definitely think women perhaps are more compassionate on average than men. But I definitely think when it comes to relationships, women are way more shallow, way more strict, than men are. And as a result, way less likely to actually, let's say qualify as being in love, actual love, selfless love, right? Not this, simple, stupid lust infatuation that we have. And so that's the issue that I'm seeing. And unless we change, right? I don't think we will. It sucks. But unless we change and we're less shallow on average, especially the women, if we're less shallow on average, then maybe relationships can start being about love again and be less transactional. Maybe you can't avoid the transactionality, how transactional they are, right? You can't avoid some amount of transaction in a relationship. But you can make it less. You can make it less about transaction. You can make it more about sincere love, right? Selfless love. So why not? Why not do it? Because it's tough and it sucks. So you can either go with the flow, right? And no relationships will happen and society will be doomed and everyone will be lonely and messed up. Or we can try to be less shallow and accept other people as not what we would ideally have, right? But they're there. They're all we have access to. And therefore we should give them a chance, right? Because that's what real love is about. And it's not about all this shallow transaction, right? Pick your path, One will lead to a better outcome than the other, obviously. Choice is yours, I guess. If you're a dude and in this situation, which I think most people who would probably watch this video are probably going to be men. I don't know what to do, man. If I'm being honest, it's like we all, like I said, this is obvious. We know that this is the situation, and we know that the vast majority of us don't measure up to, the standards that are being set before us right now. Right now, I think the most you can do is invest in relationships with other men. Not romantic relationships, unless that's your thing, obviously. But like friendships, actual, solid, meaningful, long-term friendships where, again, it's not about what you get out of the other person. It's not about transaction, right? It's selfless love, right? Having an actual friend. Because this is obvious. If you had a friend, right, fake friends that will only hang out with you because you got a lot of money, and then you're down, let's say you lost your wealth, and then they run away, they're nowhere to be found, that's a fake friend. Why would it not be the same in a romantic situation? Why would it not be the same when it comes to love, right? Oh, like, you're only with me because you thought I was hot, because I was tall, because I had a lot of money? Like, if that would make that other person a fake friend, doesn't that make them a fake partner, a fake romance? It's the same thing. It's honestly the same thing. So individually, what we do about it, be less shallow yourself, if you want to be part of the solution, I guess. I don't think you're going to get much of a return on that, so I think you're going to have to be a really virtuous person to be less shallow. But maybe you don't have any other choice because everyone else is shallow, So it's either we all sink together, or some of us at least try to be less shallow and actually have loving, committed, happy relationships, based off of compromise and self-sacrifice. We'll see, I guess. Choice is yours.